All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Water Management during COVID-19 session. A few housekeeping before we begin. The audience is muted, so please use the Q&A feature to ask any questions. We would address answers after each session. We would love to introduce you to any of the presenting companies today. Please email us at rayroth@israeltrade.gov.il. So a short overview of what we can expect from today's session. We will go over US and Israel water industry overview, a short introduction to the Israel economic missions to the US and how we could be of service to you, along with our leading partner in Israel, the Israel Export Institute. We will then dive into the state of the US today when it comes to water management during COVID-19 by the American Water Works Association, followed by the state of Israel during COVID-19, presented by Mekorot, Israel's national water company. This part would also include use cases of technological solutions used today for remote management. In part 2 of the session, we will hear from 4 companies actively used by Mekorot today in overcoming water challenges. We have IOSight that provides data management and analytics, Newsight Imaging, offering image sensors for water quality monitoring, IXDEN providing IoT security technology, and CQM for chemical-free water treatment and energy-saving solutions. After each session, we would host a short Q&A. All questions are posted anonymously, as we will not have time to address all questions. If your question wasn't answered, please email it to us and we will reply promptly after. For those of you who are joining us today that are not familiar with the Israel Economic Missions operations, we're based in the US and work to support trade between USA and Israel. We have 4 offices in the US, each in charge of a different territory, and our mission is to help our local network to access Israeli innovation across all industries. Please use us as a resource, whether you're looking for specific solutions or wanting to discover new technologies in your field. Now, only a small share of the planet's water resources meets the requirement of human consumption, and this supply is further diminished by inefficiencies such as aging infrastructure, leaks, and inefficient sanitation. At the same time, the world is growing in population, raising the demand for clean water. Now, add to all these concerns, we have COVID-19 that has raised a demand for remote water technologies, increased support in security, and management of the facilities, So why is Israel? A serious lack of potable water has forced Israel to create a flourishing water technology industry, and today it is a global leader in water innovation. Our aim in this special session today is to support local companies during restricted period of COVID-19. A few highlights of Israeli companies that have had global expansion that you may likely have heard of. We have Mekorot, the Israel's national water company, responsible for today's thriving water export market. They will be sharing strategies with us today. Netafim, that invented drip irrigation, probably one of the most significant developments in agriculture. And Arad Group, if you live in the US or Canada, there's a good chance that your water meter was made by Arad Group. This kibbutz-owned company specializes in design, development, and manufacturing of precision meters. Funding. Many of you are unaware, but the US and Israel have many financial support programs available for collaboration across industries and in specific in the water sector, whether it's on the federal level or the state level. One important program to mention that is open for submission today and until June 30 is by Bird Foundation, a collaboration by the US Department of Energy, the Israel Ministry of Energy, and the Israel Innovation Authority, has opened a grant for energy-saving technologies. Both American Water and IOSight, who are presenting here today, have been a part of past programs winning grants in past years. Other water projects by Bird can be funded through the general program. Submissions for that is September 1st. We will be happy to share more information on this offer and other available opportunities for such collaboration, as well as suggest adequate partners for your upcoming projects. You will all be receiving a follow-up email after the webinar with my email details. Please do not hesitate to reach out. Now, without further ado, it's a pleasure to introduce our Israeli partner in this initiative and many others, the Israel Export Institute. The Israel Export Institute is a nonprofit organization established and funded by the government and the private sector, offers a gateway to Israeli technologies and government resources. Head of the water sector, Aviv Berkovich, is with us today. Aviv, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ray. First of all, I would like to say to Ray and both Moran from the Economic Mission to San Francisco, thank you very much for this event. It's really a wonderful thing that we're doing together. So I'm gonna give a quick brief about the Israel Export Institute. And I'll try not to speak much about water because we're gonna hear a lot about it further on. So the Israel Export Institute is a non-profit organization, semi-governmental, and our job is to do the matchmaking. We create the business opportunities for the Israeli companies with the global organization abroad. We do it with usually with our main partners, which is the economic missions around the world, as part of the Ministry of Economy. So this is a small map of the different sectors that we have in the Israel Export Institute. Each sector has a few hundreds of companies in each sector. We try to focus in many verticals as we can. So let's talk about who we work with. Usually we work with the governmental officials because we are semi-governmental. We work, like I said, with the Ministry of Economy and Industry, but also with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Agriculture, etc., etc. Of course, our main deal is to be in contact with the Israeli companies. And there are more than 3,500 Israeli companies that we are in contact on a daily basis. In this particular example, Ray and Moran approached me and asked me who would be the main partner for that. And the main suspect was David from Mekorot. I thought he's the perfect organization to show us exactly how they can implement the different technologies that we have here in Israel, and you will hear about them later on. And of course, together with the economic missions, we create the business opportunities together with the partners abroad. So, like I said, I'm in charge of the water sector. I'm the head of the water sector. In my sector, there are more than 250 Israeli water tech companies. You can see here the different verticals that we have. In the water sector, we have very disruptive technology. If it's regarding to IoT, control and communication, filtration, desalination, wastewater treatment, you name it, we have a solution for it. Maybe a solution you even haven't heard of yet. So please, if you have any questions regarding the Israeli market, the Israeli water market, please approach me and we'll be able to ask any of your questions. Thank you very much. Ray, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Aviv. All right, our next speaker is by American Waterworks Association. It is an international organization, nonprofit, dedicated to providing water solutions, assuring the effective management of water. With over 50,000 members, it represents the full spectrum of the water community. Barb Martin, Director of Engineering and Technical Services, is here with us today to share the state of the US industry during the pandemic. Barb, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Ray, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you this morning. So as Ray indicated, I'm going to speak a little bit about COVID-19 and the state of the water industry, how the water sector has been impacted by COVID. So for those of you not familiar with the American Water Works Association, I'll briefly start here. AWWA is the largest and oldest association of water supply professionals in the world, with more than 51,000 members worldwide. We are a nonprofit scientific and education society dedicated to providing total water solutions for the effective management of water, which is, of course, our world's most important resources. The photo that you see on this slide is a photo of our AWWA's headquarters in Denver, Colorado, but we also have an office in Washington, D.C. that actively works with the government in terms of advocacy for promoting regulations that are relevant to the water sector. And then we have a third office that recently was founded in Mumbai, India, which really helps us to realize our vision of creating a better world through better water. So greetings to the folks. I did see someone is on this call from India, so good evening to you. AWWA does a number of different things to support the water profession, and this slide lists several of them. So from producing industry standards that help to support all facets of water system operations. We also have a variety of manuals, and then also have resources such as conferences, publications, and numerous volunteer opportunities as well. What I really want to focus in on today is some of our COVID-19 work and COVID-19 resources. But to kick that off, I do want to speak for just a minute about a survey that AWWA has published for the past 16 years called the State of the Water Industry Survey. You see a photo of the survey report on this screen. The 2020 report is now available online at the AWWA website for download. But the State of the Water Industry Survey just helps to kind of keep a pulse as to people's perceptions about the water sector. So year after year, we conduct this survey, which lets us know whether people are feeling optimistic about the sector, pessimistic, and also helps us to outline some of the major water sector challenges that are identified. We actually rank the top 20 of them and track them from year to year. So this report is something that I often point innovators towards in terms of being able to identify the challenges, because as innovative technology companies are developing solutions, they may want to target them to addressing some of these challenges. So this survey, I do have the top 10 2020 challenges outlined on this particular table, but this survey was conducted pre-COVID. So in fact, it was conducted in the fall of 2019, before COVID really became a thing. And one of my last activities outside the office prior to us all going to this remote working situation was actually a presentation of the State of the Water Industry survey results for 2019-2020. The next week, of course, everything was turned on its head. Mid-March is really when we started taking action about COVID. And so AWWA immediately sprang into action, trying to learn about the water sector, what are the biggest challenges that we need to face, really so that we could be in a position to better help our members do their essential work. So early on in the COVID-19 crisis, the water and wastewater sector was identified by CISA as essential infrastructure, and that's really due to the essential role that water plays in public health protection. It was really good to see so many water utilities suspending shutoffs, suspending late payments, just to make sure that people were provided with access to safe water that plays such an essential role in hygiene and hand washing and some of the things that are really critical to fighting COVID-19. So what we did to help support our members during this time and really be able to learn what the needs of the water sector were is we conducted a series of surveys starting in mid-March, and actually the last one we just rolled out last week to see how the needs of the industry changed over time. And really what these surveys helped us to do was identify and get some quantifiable information about some key water sector issues. You can see some of them noted on this slide. I certainly don't have time to talk about all of them, but as you'll see on the end, the survey results are something that are all accessible from the AWWA website. But what I'm going to talk a little bit about here is some of the financial challenges of the water sector, some challenges associated with workforce, as well as communications, and some of what we're running into in terms of returning to service and some of the impacts of things like suspending shutoffs on building water quality. So what you can see on this slide is from the second survey that we rolled out during the week of March 25th, and what some of the current and anticipated challenges were at that time. So kind of early on in the lockdown situation, a lot of people were concerned as how do we social distance? Who needs to be at work? Who can work from home? How do you keep them safe? Certainly PPE was a big issue. What is interesting is what wasn't a big issue at the time was revenue generation and cash flow. And as the surveys continued to progress through April and certainly until now, what has become pretty evident is that the impact of COVID-19 on the financial aspect of the water sector is hugely significant. So we did see this early on, and AWWA worked with the Association of Metropolitan Water Agencies to contract with Reftelis Consulting to survey the sector and try to anticipate the financial impact of the COVID-19 crisis. So in digging for that information, what we found is that financial impact is going to be significant. The aggregate impact of COVID-19 on water utilities is anticipated to be about $13.9 billion based on eliminating shutoffs for non-payment, some anticipated increases in delinquencies due to high unemployment rates, and lower consumption by industrial customers while things were in lockdown. This has a snowball effect, of course, because water utilities are a part of the community they serve, and certainly as they work on capital projects, that results in engaging with all sorts of the local ecosystem. So we're anticipating the impact on community economic activity will be even larger at $32.7 billion. And may result in an estimated loss of 75,000 to 90,000 private sector jobs that would be related to these decreases in spending. So very significant financial impacts are anticipated. The report is also available for download on the AWWA website, which I would encourage you to do if you are interested in getting into more of the details. One of the other areas that was identified as a challenge early on and really remains so is workforce issues, mainly a transition to remote working, worries about absenteeism and the ability to maintain business continuity. How do you manage employee health and safety in the best possible way? And then as well issues with operator certification and the availability of operators getting continuing education units from online training opportunities. I think a lot of this points to increased use of technology, especially if you're looking at remote operation and the cybersecurity aspects associated with that, which I think will tie into some of our presentations coming on later in this session. And to wrap things up, because I know we're a little bit short on time, this crisis, like any crisis, it's really key to maintain customer communications and maintain trust during this time. And communications is essential to doing this. Whether we're talking about not flushing those flushable wipes down the toilet to prevent fatbergs, payments, or water quality communications is key. This is another report that can be downloaded from the AWWA website, Trending in an Instance, which is a guide to risk communications for water utilities, since this is so important during this time. One aspect that communications is essential to is bringing us all back to service, building water quality in buildings that might have been vacant for a long time. If that water is stagnant and hasn't been running, there's a real risk of not having sufficient disinfectant residual to kill bacteria that may be present in the premise plumbing. And so there's been an active drive to reach out to those customers, make sure that they have the technical information they need about flushing building water systems, and making sure that they are taking the right steps before those buildings are gradually repopulated as we continue a phased-in return to service. So lots of information available on AWWA's coronavirus page, including webinar recordings of webinars pertaining to communications, returning to service, and many, many other aspects of the COVID-19 crisis. There's also a variety of resources and templates there. So I would encourage attendees to visit this website if you are looking for more coronavirus information. So I'll stop there. Barely time to scratch the surface, but happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you. Back to you, Ray.
Thank you, Barb. I do encourage everybody to log into the website. There is a massive list of resources for different water utilities and information about both what we're facing today and initiatives taken. Our next speaker is from Mekorot, a powerhouse in desalination, water reclamation, water project engineering, cloud seeding, water safety, and water quality. Mekorot supplies 90% of Israel's drinking water and manages about 80% of its water supply. David Balsal, General Manager of Innovation and Ventures, will share the state of Israel during the pandemic, as well as actual use cases of technologies used to overcome these challenges. David, go ahead.
Thank you, Ray. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay, so this is a photo taken in an Israeli desert called Negev. It actually exports billions of dollars worth of fruit and vegetables globally each year. And it begs the question of how does a small country like Israel with little annual rainfall in a very arid climate with only one freshwater lake and with no major river do this? So one of our biggest achievements as Mekorot in Israel is being able to detach ourselves from the climate, from the weather. And we are actually now in a situation where we are in a surplus of water, and we can provide and supply water to our neighbors. So how do we do this? 80% of the water piped into Israeli homes comes from desalination. We have 5 desalination plants on the Mediterranean Sea, 1 more in the south in the Red Sea, and 2 more are being built now in the north. So it accounts for a huge amount of our water, of our drinking water. Another aspect is sewage treatment. Israel uses almost 90% of the treated water as reclaimed water. So agriculture and irrigation is one of the most abundant usage of water, and we are able to provide it mostly through our sewage treatment, through our sewage treatment plants. It also involves one of our philosophies, which is a circular economy. And in those plants, we also use the sludge as a biogas, and we try to turn hazards into resources. Another aspect is the way Mekorot is handling non-revenue water. So leakage water is, the leakage water percentage with Mekorot is one of the lowest in the world. It's less than 3%, which makes it very, very efficient. Our water management system is very efficient in that sense. In addition to what we call digital transformation to our management system, we are now heavily investing in technologies, in big data, in AI, machine learning, IoT. It can be deployment of AMI, smart sensor in scale, and one control and command center on the other hand. So think of it as one control and command center that actually manages the whole of the water management system in Israel. So it's not there yet. At the moment, we have 9 of them, but we are working hard to integrate them all to one control and command center. A few figures about Mekorot. Mekorot is more than 80 years old, has a wealth of experience across the water cycle. We are AAA companies. We are 100% government owned, but we are the only government owned company which is AAA. So we're quite robust in that sense. As said, we are operating across the whole of the water cycle, from production to transmission, consumption, then water treatment and water reuse. So we've gained a lot of experience throughout the cycle. Our innovation process is, I guess, we are very, very well positioned to do innovation. We have 4 R&D centers in Israel. In the north, we have our central lab for water quality. We have a desalination plant in Ashdod, in the center of Israel, which we run tests in. We have the Shafdan treatment center. It's the biggest wastewater treatment center in Israel. Accounts for almost 40% of wastewater treatment. And then we have in the south of Israel another desalination plant, also for brackish water. So we are using those facilities to run our R&D and our research, our applied research, then translated into ventures. Our efforts are to marry Israel as the startup nation. At least we are considered as the startup nation. Israel is the highest in the world startups per capita. In the past 10 years, we've seen a very aggressive growth in startups. A lot of American companies have been acquiring Israeli startups, all the big S&P companies, as you're all aware of. And this brings me to the next slide, in which I'll really briefly introduce the 4 companies that will speak after me, and will elaborate each and every one of them about the technology and about the company. But I'll just give a very brief overview and the way that we are working with them at the moment. Just last thing about that. As a government-owned company, we've been asked by the government. There was a government resolution a year ago asking Mekorot to invest in startups. So we are now quite aggressive in this field, and we are looking for new technologies and new startups to invest in and collaborate naturally in the water sector. So the first company is Newsight. Newsight is has a very novel technology. We call it a lab on a chip. It's a very smart sensor that knows how to monitor and detect elements in the water. It's very compact, very robust. We're still working on the final product, but it looks really promising. We're working through 3 disciplines, 3 sectors. We're working to identify the chemicals in the water, the biology in the water, and the metals. IOSight is a brilliant company as well that we are working with, implementing them across Mekorot's facilities, monitoring water quality in reservoirs and in watersheds, and also in wastewater. Guy will elaborate further after that. IXDEN is a very relevant company with a very relevant solution. IoT, cyber. It operates between the sensors to the PLC, the controller, and the SCADA system, it maps the playground within those sections, and it can first identify cyber attacks, but also help us with efficiencies, operational efficiencies, and energy efficiencies. They can also detect leakage. They'll elaborate further. The last company is CQM Water. I'll have a sip of water. Yeah. So CQM Water is a spin-off company of its mother company, CQM. It's a machine, it's a portable machine that produces chloride on site, chemical-free from salt, and also from, we are now working on ways to apply the circular economy on it. So we are using the leftovers from desalination plant and produce chloride from the salt, and that builds on the system there. Lastly, COVID-19. We are investing quite heavily in technologies to detect COVID-19 in wastewater, in the sewage. We've been partnering with leading research centers in Israel and universities and startups to be able to detect early signs of COVID-19 outbreaks in the sewage. This is quite an early stage, but we have government funding and other fundings, and we are quite aggressive in achieving progress in that field. So we'll be happy to provide some more information if it's of interest. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. It is exciting to see what Mekorot is doing and how it is involved. Only 3% leakage, that is very impressive, and I think very much needed here in the US doing the aging infrastructure. So let's dive into the second part, the technology itself. We will start with Guy Meiri, Business Development Director at IOSight, real-time insights into site performance and advanced decision support. Guy, take it away.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, good evening maybe. I'll share my screen. So please confirm that you can see my screen, my full screen. Is that right? All right, good. Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure presenting before you, and thank you for inviting me. So I'll jump straight into the presentation. We have a short time frame. So IOSight is, what we do is data management and analytics for water systems. So in today's presentation, I'm gonna try to focus a little bit about COVID-19 related perspectives. So we're going to talk a little bit about our company, about our solutions, and then share a few case studies. Some of them Mekorot is involved in as our client or partner. And then obviously leave some time for questions if you like. So we are a leading data management and analytics provider for the utilities sector. We focus primarily in water. We also have some energy clients. We have a very strong team of professionals from software and algorithm, data scientists, but also engineers, water engineers, environmental engineers. We believe in the fusion of engineering and data science, not just pure data science. So we have over 100 installations worldwide, so we have a lot of experience in the water sector, most of them in the water, and we've been around since 2007. Glimpse into our clients, our sectors. So you see the water and wastewater, which includes the treatment and distribution, desalination, which is a very strong segment of ours, watersheds in the environment, and also the energy sector. As you can see, Mekorot is a client and a part of ours in some of those, in most of those segments. So What makes us unique? As I mentioned, we're an engineering-driven company, so everything we do is driven by water know-how and engineering. We're vertically integrated. We provide an off-the-shelf end-to-end solution from data management through analytics. We have a lot of experience, as I mentioned, and the expertise, and we have a lot of assets that are built into our software, which is based on our experience. So it's like dashboards, formulas, reports, etc., for the various segments that we serve: water treatment, wastewater treatment, desalination. So a little bit in deep dive into our solutions. So our smart water suite, as we call it, is a basically vertically integrated data management and analytics solution suite for water. So our core platform is called iGreen, which is represented here by the two bottom layers. It's focused on really extracting the data, creating a robust data foundation, extracting the data, normalizing it, cleansing it, making it ready for presentation. Then we have the BI layer, which includes reports, dashboards, event management. And on top of that, we've developed really domain-specific expert modules, advanced analytics experts modules for a variety of areas that I'm gonna speak about a little bit in a minute or so. Again, one of the things we believe really makes us unique and basically best in class is the ability to really integrate in one platform all what we believe are the necessary components of a strong and robust data management and analytics platform specifically for the water sector. So it starts from the ability to connect to all the various data sources from the bottom of this diagram, through the ability to integrate and synchronize the various data from those data sources, to normalize it, store it, deploy it very quickly, have quality outputs and dashboards, have the ability to develop algorithms based on that, and really the ease of use and scalability to further implement it in other facilities, add more equipment, and so forth. So, and the value that we provide, very quickly just describe the categories of value. Some of it is related to operations and performance, like water quality monitoring, energy cost reduction, and so forth. Some of it more financial and administrative, and some of it related to regulatory compliance, the ability to respond very effectively, efficiently, and accurately to regulatory requirements. Some examples of our dashboards of our system. These are web and mobile dashboards. Our reporting engine, this is an example of our reporting engine interface, as well as our some of our reports. An event management model that I mentioned, so it's really being fed by an engineering-driven rules engine. And then you have like an event management center, and you get alerts sent, text, email, and other types of measures. Have a map view option. Also, if you have distributed facilities, a watershed, etc. So as I mentioned, we've developed several algorithm-based expert modules, the advanced analytics modules. So one of them is for water quality monitoring, rivers and watershed. IOSight, the other one is for water treatment, wastewater treatment plants for optimal water use. And a few others, I'm going to discuss a little bit one of them in a minute. Now I'm going to move to case studies. When we're thinking, what we've experienced during the COVID-19 period from our clients, actually, from interacting with our clients and from our clients' experience, is really the need for continuity, business continuity, convenience, connecting from home, comprehensiveness, the ability to see all their site performance, and the ability to collaborate either with us or with with peers. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some case studies, trying to think about those themes. So the first one is Shafdan wastewater treatment plant that David mentioned earlier. It's the largest one in Israel, and they're using our system quite extensively. It's basically their main center of operation and decision support system. So it's a huge facility. So we're collecting over 4,000 tags from the SCADA system and from the lab. And we provide engineering and regulatory reports and online dashboards. They're basically using it as a really center of operations. So the ability to basically access it remotely and provide all the daily dashboarding and reporting needs was actually very critical for them, and they're using our system to do it during COVID-19. Now also through mobile phones due to a new cybersecurity component that they installed. The Palmachim desalination plant is another large facility, also using our system extensively for the daily operations, for monitoring the quality of both the product that gets in, gets out, the processes. The plant managers, here you can see the picture from the operations manager's home, actually, with our screen. And as I mentioned, using it quite extensively during COVID-19. And at Carlsbad desalination plant, although they stayed sheltered in place for 3-week shifts, as you may have heard or read, some of the people, the managers and engineers, use our system remotely. Gonna describe a little bit one of the advanced analytics algorithm solutions that we have with Mekorot. It's the IOSight for water quality monitoring in rivers and watersheds. So basically, they use our system to monitor the Sea of Galilee, the Jordan River watershed. So basically, to create alerts, eliminate false alerts, and really help. It serves as a nerve center for monitoring the water quality in this one lake that we have that was mentioned. It's a project which is managed and led and owned by Mekorot. We provide a data management and analytics platform for that. And IOSight is really serves as a nerve center, which provides the ability to really, there's no headquarters there. You need to be a remote all the time. So it really enables the managers to manage water quality and alert if there's real alerts, prevent false alerts, direct people into maintenance tasks whenever is needed, according to data-driven prioritization. And the last slide I want to talk about is really a very recent one. I want to focus on the bottom slide. Actually, we do have a project with the City of Chicago Water Department, but I want to focus on the bottom part of it, which is what I call the COVID-19 newborn. It's a new project we have in Southern California with a water utility there, with a water system there, and it's 100% managed and delivered remotely, because we started it just at the beginning of COVID-19. We're going to deliver it at the end of this month, and it's around the collaboration. It's really been quite exciting to work with the team and deliver this quite amazing project successfully to this water system. So it took a little bit more time, but if there are any questions, we have to take them.
Thank you, Guy. So you work with IOSight and specifically remote data management. I think in these days have become more apparent the need for use. You've worked with Illinois and California in the US, and
Yeah.
you mentioned that you're able to onboard clients in real time remotely, correct?
Correct.
Who are some examples of optimal clients for you, people who could use your solutions?
We work mainly with mid to large sized utilities and with water and with surface water authorities and environmental authorities. So, as mentioned in Israel, Mekorot, with large desalination plants, water treatment plants, but also this last one that we talked about in California is a mid-sized water system, and working there on the water filtration plant, the water distribution system. So kind of like mid to large.
And I can imagine the remote process of onboarding a new client really depends on the size of the client, but can you give an estimation of how might that look like for utilities that would want to use that technology these days?
You talk about remote onboarding, or just like like we're doing right now, like trying to do everything remotely?
Exactly. Well, installing the technology remotely, let's say for a new client.
I haven't mentioned it, but it's in this case it's cloud-based, obviously. So everything is in the cloud. I haven't mentioned it earlier. So because it's cloud-based, it's manageable. It's more difficult when you do it on-prem, obviously. Then you need to go over, but it's cloud-based right now, so it's pretty easy. But it can also be done on-prem. So and what we're doing is we have weekly sessions with a client. We have like, it's kind of like a combined engineering driven focusing on the contents and the base of design, what we're actually going to develop, which type of dashboards and which types of reports we're going to develop based on their needs and our expertise. But also in parallel, we have the technical kind of like tasks, which are connectivity, making sure the data gets in, cleans, and we're doing all of that remotely, quite amazingly, over the last few weeks. So yeah, that's kind of like the last example that I talked about. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Guy.
All
right. Our next speaker is Michal Cooper-Kozlovich, Director of Strategic Partnerships at Newsight Imaging. Newsight Imaging have a spectrometer on-chip technology empowered by AI for water quality monitoring. Michal, take it away. Michal? Let's give her another minute, see if she can connect, and if not, we'll move on to our next speaker and circle back.
Hello?
Hi, Michal, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, for a minute something happened with the network. I hope that you haven't waited for me. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I apologize again. You know, things like that, just even when you have everything ready, sometimes just karma happens. So I apologize again. I'm going to share my screen now. Just tell me if you can see it. Yeah. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we can, Michal.
Yeah, great. Just doing presentation mode. Yeah, great. So my name is Michal. I'm a director of strategic partnerships. Thank you for the opportunity. Everyone is talking about water monitoring, about COVID-19, and actually Dudi mentioned a little bit about what we're doing. So you're probably wondering how a semiconductor company is related to water quality. You're going to hear a lot about water companies, about amazing technologies we're having in Israel. But what is unique about Newsight is actually our sensor and the ability and the value our sensor can give to all water utilities and to many, many other use cases. So I want to start in a nutshell, tell you a little bit about Newsight. We are a semiconductor industry company that focuses on two main applications. So the first one is machine vision, as you've probably seen most of it in David's presentation, Mekorot. But the thing we're going to focus today is actually on our second application, which is spectral imaging. We are basically creating a spectrometer on chip. So you can see here is a very small chip, but it's doing magic. And I'm going to show you just in a few seconds what exactly it can do. But although Newsight is a young company, we were founded in 2016. We already established, we were able to put to the market 4 sensors, different sensors, and we have quite a traction. We work with partners like Fraunhofer. We were supported by Desalination Innovation Authority, and of course we manufacture in Tower Jazz, which is an Israeli-American fab. But I'm not going to talk about a lot of things, but just to give you an insight about our validation of our technology, you see that we work with leading huge partners, global leaders in each aspect, if it's for machine vision, but especially already in the spectral analysis. So one of them is Mekorot, and we're going to tell you about exactly what we're doing with them. But another interesting use case to mention is actually due to all the COVID-19 pandemic is the agreement we signed with the Sheba. We actually signed a memorandum of understanding and a research agreement with the Sheba Medical Hospital, which is one of the leading hospitals in the world and actually leading in Israel. So, this research is actually on detecting viruses. So, as you probably wonder, how this magic is happening, I just want to mention before that we do have already a footprint in the US, although we still haven't signed any agreement with the US companies. We do have representation. We have 2 distributors in the US, and now we're really eager to start and sharing our technology in the US market. So now is the time, and especially due to our relevance to the water management crisis and also COVID-19. So let's talk about the problem. And actually the problem that generates an opportunity. We see that current solutions do not match a large-scale water distribution. Even before COVID-19, there's an extreme challenge to address all this large scale of distribution of water and to actually have knowledge of what is happening to the water from any point to point. So this kind of need actually generates some actually essential need for water quality monitoring that will be affordable and portable. So basically you need portable inspection systems that can be anywhere and that are affordable, so you can put it anywhere. So this need is actually becoming more dramatic. You can see on news, you probably heard what happened, all of you, you were quite in 2014 about the lead in Flint, but it's even happening more and more, and those are probably the cases we do hear about. We see this in November in Montreal, that also lead was found in Canadian water. But actually, I found another incident that it was actually happening in May. So finding leads in drinking water. So basically, it's becoming urgent to know what is happening to drinking water until it gets to the consumer point. So here is where we come along. So far we designed something that is a development kit called SpectraLead. And this is just a development kit. It's not the final product, but this already works with our sensor. So it works on this sensor, and it actually gives an opportunity to test the technology and develop the prototype that can be installed anywhere and anytime. So in the next slide, I will show you exactly how we're doing it with Mekorot. But first, to understand the added value of what I just mentioned, to summarize, if we see water distribution, and if you imagine that you can put any small device, now it's like this, but it can be even smaller because it's based on the sensor, it depends on mechanics. So you can put it anywhere on the chain of water supply, and it can give you real time what is happening to the water in terms of quality, but it's as accurate as a spectrometer in the lab. So we see that today they're trying to do many solutions regarding water quality, many kind of sensors out there, but the quality or the price point is not quite there. So we're tackling both. So in one hand, you have a quality of spectroscopy as in the lab, because this is basically a spectrometer on chip. But in the other hand is a small, affordable portable device that you can put anywhere. So basically, imagine you can put it anywhere in a chain. They're all connected to the cloud, and you can have your cloud of water management and what is happening in each point. And if it was very important before the COVID-19, now after, and actually I hope that after, right? Hope that we're past it and it's all going better. But even in those days, we understand how important it is to have something remote, remotely understanding what is happening to the water and actually being able to update it from far. So this is something that is very important, and it's one of our strengths. So how does this magic happen? So I showed you before the SpectraLead. You see, this is just, again, a development kit. This is not the final device, but this development kit already been able to demonstrate, actually, I can tell you it's not relevant to what we're doing with Mekorot for now, but we were able to even identify different viruses in some collaborations we do with medical institutes. So we successfully even found viruses, and it's very important because it gives validation of the technology, of how accurate it can be, especially when it comes to drinking water, which is very essential to understand that this is a validated technology. So in terms of how it works, it's basically a spectrometer. It can detect wavelengths from 400 to 700 nanometers. And in the future, we'll be able to go also to 1,100 nanometers. So, but already with this device, we have this device already installed in one of Mekorot's institutes. We're going to have it installed soon. That will be able to already give more data and feedback about what is happening to the water. And in the future, of course, we're going to install something that will be in the field anywhere and anytime. So this is the main idea, and this is already something that is working. We have first very promising results. Of course, we cannot disclose more without Mekorot's approval, but if you're interested, of course, we can consider it upon approval and upon NDA to discuss and disclose more relevant results of our tests. But just to understand the idea, again, it can be updated. As I mentioned before, everything can be updated with firmware. You have ability to update spectral profiles. If, for example, you have an incident or you want to avoid false alerts or anything related to water management, you can update it on the fly. Anything can happen in seconds. So basically, you have a real-time monitoring system of water quality. And you can put it into up to the steps of the consumer. For example, we were thinking about even integrating it into water meters and to give ability to, as a water meter, not only the quantity of the water spent or usage of water, but also the quality of water, and send this information to utilities. And if there is a danger in drinking water, everyone who has to know will be alerted, and it can really save lives. So this slide just demonstrates how we can use AI and machine learning algorithms and to perfect basically our detection capability. Since every time we're receiving more and more data, we can improve our system and our detection and building the profiles of what we want to find. So as long as we keep putting more and more data, we can improve. And since it will be spread everywhere, it will really assist us to have the system getting better with time. And I want to address this just, again, I cannot elaborate more about the results of Mekorot, but I can say that we strongly believe and confident in our ability to find metals and pesticides and leads in water, and of course all the biology side of it due to what we're doing with the medical center regarding viruses. So we're pretty confident already in our ability and in the accuracy of our sensor to identify these materials in liquids, and we are even thinking to upgrade it to even vapors in the future. So I think that I'm gonna open it to Q&A now. I think that I want to just summarize that we see our technology as a key essential key solution to encounter all these challenges during COVID-19. It can be as safety for virus detection, or it can be actually importantly to manage all the water supply efficiently, but also dramatically to increase the safety of the population for drinking water. So thank you so much. I hope it was clear, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have now, or you can feel free to contact me at any time.
Thank you, Michal, especially today with many businesses closed for many months now with little to no water flow. I think tracking the water quality to reduce health-related concerns become more apparent. Congratulations on the project with Shiva, and I look forward to seeing many more projects in the future. All right. Our next speaker is Zion Harel, CEO at IXDEN, Data at Source Protection for IoT Operation and Critical IoT Infrastructure. Zion?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'll try. Can you stop sharing so I can do it?
Yeah, I just did.
All right. Is everybody sick?
Yes.
So thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Zion Harel. I'm CEO at IXDEN. And IXDEN is a company that providing sensor threat detection and also cybersecurity in critical infrastructure. Few words about the company. We established in 2017. We have headquarters in Tel Aviv and sales office in Houston, Texas. Our solution, as David mentioned before, covers cybersecurity for IoT devices, but also sensor data health detection, which is more focusing on the OT. We'll cover that in a minute. Our technology is based on a patented technology, which is focusing on abnormality detection of behavior of sensor data, which we are using. We call it biometric approach and multi-factor authentication. Our product is on the commercialization stage. We finished few POCs last year with multinational corporations, mainly focusing on water, oil and gas, power, and homeland security, both in Israel, US, and Europe. As David also mentioned, we signed strategic partnership with Mekorot for the implementation of the system around Mekorot sites in Israel, and also an investment in the company. So we're currently running another round in the company state. So this is another milestone of the company. So I will cover a little bit about what we're doing. So we are looking at today technology, and with all the transformation, we see more and more sensor, more and more connectivity between sensor all around us, specifically in critical infrastructure, and many of them are using for critical decisions. We see the protocols is being expanded with reduction of cost. Everything is getting advanced. And of course, there is a lot of integration and new opportunities. But in the other side of that, we see more issues coming from the security aspects. We see that more and more water and other critical infrastructure company using in their operation much more sensors, smart sensors, but also when we talk about IoT devices, we're talking about gateways and PLCs and RTUs. And controllers. So we are talking about millions and millions of devices connected to each other, all the way to the operational networking, the IT and the OT networks. And we also saw a few of those phenomena of cyber attack. I will not mention, one was mentioned in the news lately in Israel, but others was in the States as well. So security of IoT device is a big issue, although I know the water companies didn't have attention to this yet, but as far as we see, it's coming more and more. When we talk about our solution, I mentioned already that we are looking at the OT side as well. Our technology and the way that we structure the technology is helping actually the OT people also to look for unintentional problem of sensors. Not the intentional one, which is the cyber, which is happening once in a while, and hopefully it will not happen too much, but also miscalibration errors, sensor malfunctioning, problem of leakage, anything that happening far away from the physical sites and actually can create a lot of problem. We are hearing from the customer a very big important information that 80% of the sensor data that coming from upside along to the network are not managing in the SCADA system, which means that only 20% of the data is being managed today, which this create a lot of problem. And we wanted to solve this, come up with a solution to this topic. With the COVID-19, we saw much more action, as you know, and Israeli was in the news also, and you mentioned it before, I will not repeat. So we have seen that technology, specifically when company needs to manage remotely their assets, this is where we are coming with our technology. So what we're doing, we actually providing detection in one, we call it IXDen grade. One grade which actually reflecting the healthiness of the data of the sensor in one side, and also the security level of the organization in the other side. So the company, when the company generated a grade, it's actually telling the organization how healthy their system is at this point now. And when we're saying that, we are looking, typically the focus of the company is the source of the data that's coming from the sensor, and we are sitting physically almost very near to those sensors. And this is why we are able actually to detect it a very early stage in the process. We are using a lot of machine learning and AI to look for this abnormality behavior of the sensor data. The way that we do it, I will not go too deep on the technology. It's a comprehensive one, but just to give you a sense, we are a software company. We're not using anything related to hardware. In one side of the platform, we have an agent that's sitting very close to the sensors and the controller. It's a piece of software that collects information for us about the networking, the sensor, the physical data that the sensor generated, the metadata of the software, the hardware. Those data are dynamic changes, which is because it generates different data every second. So we are actually collecting a lot of information, a lot of parameters from the IoT environment. And on the server side, which is located on the, for instance, in Mekorot site, there will be the server side, which actually will generate we call it multi-factor authentication, which is actually giving us in mathematics approach with the grade, which I talked about, which how close or how good, how qualified is your sensor behavior as of now. We are actually looking at the behavior of a sensor relatively to the historical behavior of a sensor that we already collected. We do it in a mathematic way. We call biometric identity, it's very weird because biometric is related to human, and so why we're doing it with IoT or with device. But the technology that we actually generated here is the ability to look at the sensor the same way that we're looking at the face of a person, which has a lot of parameters that we can see in each face and actually recognize based on the face and the behavior of the person. The same way we are doing it for a device, we are collecting information, creating a dynamic footprint. And anytime that we want to do a transaction, we are actually looking at this biometric ID and do the authentication. This is showing you here in this chart, why are we so unique? Because our agent is sitting south to the TCP IP, which is near the controller. This is where we live. Typically, a lot of cyber companies and others sitting on the network and looking for anomaly detection, which is a bit north to the TCP IP line. But we sit south to the TCP IP, very, very, very close to the sensor, and actually feeling the changes, even a very small changes, leakage, anything that happen in a pump or a pipe, or something that even start to make changes in the behavior, we can see it. That's why we call the technology data at source protection, because we're looking at the source of the information. The way that we do it, just to give you a sense, the agent collect the information. Here, if you look at the very close to the sensor and the controllers, it sends the information to the server, which is predicting the ID for this specific transaction. We compute the grade, and we're actually generating and sending the result to the organization. To give you just a sense of transaction, if you take in a fintech, in a bank, when you go to a bank, you have been asking usually for authentication 2 or 3 security questions about what's your mother maiden name and schools and dogs. We, in each transaction, our system is asking between 30 to 40 different questions. The device should answer those questions in order to generate a grade. So we are talking about multi-factoring in real time almost that the organization can see. This IXDEN grade is actually sending to 3 different customers. The first one is the dashboard of SCADA, the distribution control system, which can actually looking for the changes. Also for the cybersecurity center for anything related to security, and also for asset management system. Usually a lot of companies using those systems for asset management, so we can also generate there. We can give a very specific location of the problem for any organization. If it's a pumping in the desert, we can say that this specific parameter looks, the behavior looks very different, and you should go and check it. So we can guide, and we can also provide a map specifically to see where. So if you look at the COVID-19 issues now that companies has to manage remotely, they've been able to see from our system where the problem is happening now specifically, and we can drill down into the all the way to the parameter that behaves differently. A few words in case studies. We've done a lot of work in the States in gas and oil, in pumping, upstream, water. We're doing now in Mekorot, the project. If you look at the right side of this chart, you can see that if there is changes in the behavior which come out very quickly, we can see that it can be a cyber attack. But if you go to the lower right end of this chart, you can see a chart which this was in one of the pipes in gas and oil, but it can relate to water as well. We've seen different this is a result of the system behavior. So we've seen that the IX grain was started to go, if you look at the cursor, very, very, a little bit lower. The quality of the grade wasn't that good, but still okay, all the way up until it crashed after 6 hours. So what's happened here, it was a leakage in one of the pipes, which actually creates shutdown. So our system actually can help to do prediction also for those issues before it happens and give the organization enough time to look. We have other case studies in smart energy, in smart grid, and of course now with Mekorot, we're going to do it in the treatment water, the pumping pools, the desalination sites. We are going to integrate specifically there with Motorola, gateways, and Siemens, and maybe GE as well. One word about the deployment. A system is automatically doing the enterprising discovery process for all the sensors. So it's we can come to existing operation and implement it. And also the agent is being distributed through the OTA and OTG of the organization. So everything is automatic and it's suiting a current operation, not a new one. So what we are bringing at the end of the day, we are bringing trust, data trust, of course, for the organization, ability to work remotely using smart sensor all the way detection. Of course, the implementation cost is relatively low because we don't have any hardware in our business. And so you can scale your operation using the system. This is the team of the company. We are 3 entrepreneurs with working, many years in other multinational and experience in software development. Thank you very much. I hope it was clear. If you want more details, I'm sure we can have a separate discussion and present you in more depth, the technology and the solution. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zion. With cybersecurity on the rise today, this technology becomes not only needed, but crucial. So thank you for the presentation, and I do encourage companies to reach out and learn more about this technology. Our next speaker is Omer Livni, CTO at CQM, offering environmentally friendly solutions for clean and efficient heat exchangers and cooling waters. Omer, take it away.
Omer, we can see your presentation. Maybe you can unmute yourself.
Unmute. Okay, guys, sorry about it. And you see my presentation and you do not yet see me. Okay. Okay. Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Rea. Thank you, Aviv. My name is Omer Livni, and do you hear me now? Is everybody? Okay. And I'm the CTO of CQM. CQM is company that was established in 1996 with the aim of basically doing stuff like nobody has done before in the field of water treatment. So we have approximately more than 4,000 installations worldwide. We have patented products, and we have basically two families of products, which we will discuss in 1 minute. This is our global spread, you can see. We have a small presence in the USA, but it's it's relatively new and it's starting to pick up, and we have some very interesting installation over there. This is just some of our customers, just so you can feel the neighborhood. We are not active only in water. In fact, 4,000 installation, the vast majority of them are not in the water field, but in other, not in the drinking water field, but in more industrial water application, like chillers, like cooling towers, like power plants, some refineries, stuff like this. Basically, all our solutions are 100% chemical free. This is practically our aim and our motto, to make a cleaner and nicer environment without the use of chemical, and just to find smart ways to manipulate and treat water and save energy. We have two families of products. One product that we will not discuss today is automatic tube cleaning system for condenser. Very neat product, going very nicely, but not our subject today. The other family is the electrolyze family, electrolyze systems for water disinfection and scale remover. Basically, we started experimenting with electrolyze system for the benefit of the cooling tower treatment, for removing scale from the water, and we got exposed to the disinfecting effect of electrolyze, to the chlorine manufacturing you get when you make electrolyze, and we also got exposed to the other technologies in the market and what they do today, and the problems that they suffer today. Our cooperation with Mekorot started maybe 8 years ago, and it's developing very nicely. Now, basically, electrolyze technology can be used for manufacturing chlorine, which is hardly used today, in very small percentage, maybe 1% or less than 1% of the world uses electrolyze technology to disinfect water. What normally people, bodies, companies, water utilities are doing is using either hypochlorite or chlorine gas. And then they are exposed to all the disadvantages of this type of usage, transportation, storage, short lifetime. If you keep it too long, just waiting to be used, the chlorine becomes weak and less effective. DBP formations, which is also an issue. It's not so environmental friendly, and there is a lot of safety issues handling these dangerous chemicals, especially with the chlorine gas. What we have is on-site, what we've developed is an on-site chlorine generation system that manufactures, that produce the chlorine on-site as you need it. It reduces the security risk, it's much more safe. It eliminates your need to be dependent, your dependency on hypochlorite or chlorine gas supply providers. I know that Mekorot had issues with this before, and this is one of the things that push them to apply more of our systems and to experiment more about them. And there is a big advantage of reduction of the DBPs by using this type of chlorination. It's proven not only for our technologies, but also other electrochlorination technologies out there, that this type of chlorination produce about 30% less DBPs than just hypochlorite or chlorine gas, and this is really a factor. These DBPs are not healthy for any of us. And the reduction of operational costs. Our technology is very different than the technology that is applied by other companies today, and you will see it in 1 minute. Basically, we developed a very neat product that was initially designed for cooling towers, which are really, really hard water, packed with scaling and all sorts of sediments and impurities and dirt and a lot of biological stuff. And this is the water that we can handle when we make our electrolysis process. And so basically the system is built for really, really hard conditions, which is a big advantage, and this is what gives us the leverage on other electrochlorination technologies that are here today. This is our patent. It also allows us to make the chlorination directly from the raw water themselves, without the need of bringing or feeding brine to the electrolysis process. Basically, what you see here is this is just a simple drawing of our patent, of our cassette. This is, do you see my mouse? My marker? Yes, okay. So this is an anode cathode cassette. You have anodes that are fixed to place. You have cathodes that are sitting on a main shaft rotating. And you have a cleaning element that is squeezed between each two cathodes. The cathodes are rotating, and cleaning scaling, which is the major issue, problem for all the other technologies today. This is why they do not succeed. They use soft water, they use even our water, and still they need a lot of acid circulations and a lot of maintenance issues in order to keep the technology running. We do not have this. This technology is a self-cleaning cassette that is working unbelievably. This is the way one system looks like. You can see it's built in a robust way and industrial and lasts for many, many years. And now we can use, we can produce the chlorine from the source water or either from brine if we want really big capacities. We talked about hard water. It's one interesting feature that I didn't mention is that somehow, and nobody is clear why, this chlorine is less smelly than the chlorine that you normally know. So it's also an advantage for users. I will show you some test case. This is the first system of this type of the self-cleaning system that we installed as a pilot in Mekorot. It is still working until today in a well, in a drilling well of Mekorot for fresh water in Jerusalem, and without any brine addition, and keeps stable of 0.5 ppm chlorine for 6 years now. very big success, which pushed Mekorot to further enhance our collaboration. This is another system that was installed in Malta in 2015, also by the help of Mekorot, also without brine, and this one is stable as the customer request at 1 ppm chlorine and with a much higher flow rate of 1,100 GPM. This is just to give you an idea of the product line that we have. We have systems for many sizes. This is basically our biggest reactor. This one is can reach about 1,000 ampere of electrolyze power, which can disinfect quite a big quantity of water, and when need more than one, then we can make batteries of those systems. And the range goes from a system of 40 ampere, which can be used for small utilities or cooling towers, or if you have a factory that needs not such a big water supply but wants to chlorinate it, for those systems that we use for like hospitals or bigger places. And basically this system that we've made is so robust and so reliable and strong and can handle hard condition that we applied it to many other directions. This is like a cooling tower treatment system. This is a model for that is using brine. You have one brine tank here, and here you have one circulation tank, and in this tank we can produce very big, very strong and nice chlorine that can, reservoir of chlorine that can be used for whatever need that there is there. And this is basically the heart of the systems that is what you see here. COVID-19, we got support from the Israeli chief scientist and funding to produce and to develop, to adjust our system to produce disinfecting liquid for surface disinfection. And this is under development, and in about not a long time from now, one of those will be in the central office of Mekorot, and another one will be in one of the major hospitals in Israel for tests and trials. And this is a very neat system. It will produce a controlled level of chlorine solution at let's say 2,000 or 3,000 ppm, as the expert will decide is better for the COVID-19 disinfection. The disinfecting liquid will move to a tank. All this system is sitting on wheels and can be very easily transported from place to place. And the users can just fill those spray tanks that they have from this tank and spray the disinfecting solution on whatever they will need to disinfect.
Ronald, I do have a question for you from the audience. How do you handle the growth of bacteria in pipelines?
Oh, we using chlorine. Basically, one more thing I did not mention is that the range of disinfectant that we get using this technology, especially on raw water, is a wider range of disinfecting products, wider range of chlorine chains and chlorine molecules, and also some ozone. Very little amount of ozone is produced, and some peroxide, which gives us a lot of a much wider range of disinfection. I can tell you that we also use this system in hot water cycles in hospitals for Legionella treatment, and we have amazing results. zero Legionella tests, zero. Not close to zero, not approximately zero, zero, which is quite amazing.
Thank you, Amar. A few finishing words before we wrap the session.
Well, we think that the chlorine, the electrochlorination technology is the future, and we think that this device allows the use of electrochlorination systems in much easier ways and much easier and friendly to the user and in much more reliable way than anything that you encounter today, which has problem of scaling that they just cannot solve without this self-cleaning mechanism. I can continue for an hour, but I will stop here.
That would be all for today. And we do encourage companies online with us today and anyone accessing the recording of this webinar to connect with the companies either directly to them or through us. I want to thank you all for joining us today. We hope you gained insights and perhaps even a few action items to work towards. As always, we are here to support you in achieving your business goals. And we encourage you to reach out to the presenting companies. The companies are available to connect directly or through introductions with us through the upcoming weeks. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for all the panelists.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.